Welcome to this presentation of a high-performance plan for Cricket Australia. Cricket in this country represents an identity for players, fans and the media alike over the summer months. A tremendous number of people spend time in this period playing competitively or socially, analysing the national team performance, watching it on television or listening to coverage on the radio. Such is the extent of the analysis, there are many ideas accessible to sustain the sport and improve performance. This presentation aims to explore the areas that may provide the most suitable focus for success going forward for Cricket Australia. As such, several performance targets have been formed. Firstly, being the pinnacle of world cricket. This is referencing on-field performance, success, and also being ethically compliant and optimal role models for the next generation of aspiring cricketers. Identifying ways to incentivise the new age of cricketers by branding the sport as an attractive one to play, and by creating a strong, united and transparent operation for nourishing and creating successful players. A further analysis of these points will explore the need to be competitive overseas, particularly at world events such as the ICC Champions Trophy, the World Cup and the World T20 tournaments. Often, Test series gain a large amount of attention, and that's if we learnt anything from our recent trip to India. A large area of growth opportunity lies in performances in Test cricket played in areas of the world where the national team struggles, specifically in the subcontinent and in England. An outline of a restructure of grassroots cricket will be analysed, and a focus on how these changes may positively impact participation rates will be discussed. Finally, a united organisation tends to breed the best results. We will aim to explore what Cricket Australia needs to do to provide the simplest and most effective evolution strategy for players that rise through those ranks. Australia currently occupies the third spot on the ICC Test cricket rankings, second on the ODI rankings, and a disappointing seventh on the T20 rankings. A prolonged history of success in home conditions has ensured that we are always toward the top end of the rankings. However, the last 10 years have seen somewhat of a yo-yo up and down the top 5 places or so. Much of this inconsistency can be reflected upon as a lack of performance away from home. Moving forward, Cricket Australia must invest in a dedicated preparation strategy for different overseas conditions. Being able to replicate home success will be crucial to claiming number 1 ranking in each format. As the current World Cup champions and having won 4 of the last 5, preparation for the ODI World Cup has been excellent. The next step will be replicating that preparation for T20 cricket and, indeed, focusing on T20 cricket more specifically. Looking after our elite players and identifying which formats are best suited to each player will be important in harnessing the best possible level of performance in all times of cricket. It is crucial to have clear expectations for all upcoming ICC World events. The next one is the Champions Trophy later this year in England. After failing to make the final 4 years ago, Australia will be hoping to win this tournament. The next 2 World Cups for ODI and T20 cricket will take place in 2019 in England and 2020 here at home. We will need to finish in the semi-final stage at worst for these to be considered remotely successful. From a broader perspective, a renewed focus on away conditions should see us set a target of winning 60% of our matches across all formats as a benchmark. We will discuss now, and that will be marked improvement. The last 10 years of international cricket has seen more matches played than ever before. International teams have very little downtime throughout the year now, as series are taking place at all times of the year. Since the retirements of several Australian legends like Steve Waugh, Justin Langer, Matthew Hayden, Adam Gilchrist, Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath and Ricky Ponting, Australia have played 17 Test series away from home and lost more than they have won. Overall, that is just 52 matches for 18 wins at a winning percentage of just under 35%. ODI cricket away from home has been slightly better, with 15 series wins from 25 attempts, and a 53.27% winning percentage from over 100 matches. Identifying the main areas of concern is important in this case, and the numbers prove 2 overwhelming areas to focus on immediately. Over this last 10-year cycle, Australia has played 6 Test match series in subcontinental conditions and won none of them. More alarmingly is the stat that they have won just the one singular test from 18 attempts in these series at a winning percentage of 5.56%. Likewise, they have played 3 series in England, and one of those was against Pakistan, and won none of those either. In this case, they have won just 2 tests of 13 attempts, and only one of those was against England. The preparation for the recent tour of India was an improvement of what it had been and yielded the only win enjoyed in subcontinental conditions in the last decade. It could still not manage a Test series win and will be built upon as a preparation blueprint going forward. As previously mentioned, highlighting which players are most suited to both different conditions and different formats will be of utmost importance as they can consistently hone their skills in these conditions and those formats. James Pattinson and Peter Hanscom are two great examples of that in recent times, as both chose to play county cricket in England to prepare for the Ashes rather than play in the IPL where the cricket would not be as consistent. When T20 cricket burst onto the international cricket scene over 10 years ago, it was viewed as somewhat of a novelty. Different nations took different amounts of time to adopt the format as a genuine area to succeed. The West Indies and India have, to date, been the finest exponents of the shortest format. Over the last 10 years, Australia has won 50% of their matches and have often been plagued by inconsistency in their results. So, where do we go from here? Firstly, it is time to separate the format from Test and ODI cricket. We need to select a specialist coach and have contracted players whose job it is to contribute to T20 wins for their country. An international T20 coach would also prove to be an excellent pathway for future Test and ODI coaching candidates to have experienced the international arena in all of its glory. Justin Langer is the obvious candidate for this role, given his success with the Perth Scorchers over the first 6 years of the BBL competition. As a cricketing organisation, we need to be targeting the same heights as we do in both Test and ODI cricket that we need to aspire to for T20 cricket as well. A top 3 ranking must be the goal to achieve over the next couple of years, and after implementing these changes, a final appearance at the next World T20 tournament will be the aim. Like any elite level sport, having a strong base built up from the grassroots level is of substantial importance. Cricket Australia has already put this notion into practice with multiple significant changes to the format of junior cricket. The aim was to make the game more appealing for young players, parents, and spectators to garner a higher level of desire to play. This is to be achieved by less dot balls, more boundaries, and increased participation from all players on a team. Along with several rule changes to how each game is played, a strong brand presence through bright coloured clothing and a large school presence for development will see more Australian kids exposed to cricket on a more consistent basis. Here we look at some of the different rules under the new format. Of note, matches for the younger kids will now take far less time, which will appeal to parents in particular. The number of players on each side has been reduced, which will make the development of young cricketers improve relative to the shorter game duration. The introduction of smaller pitches has been implemented to gradually get kids used to the concept of what skills feel like as they develop over time. Shorter boundaries are designed to engage dynamic batting skills and bring a higher enjoyment factor for those involved with playing, coaching, and watching the games. Once the grassroots level has been organised in a way that will yield future success, the focus will then turn to the pathway for elite cricketers. Criticism of the current high-performance structure includes the fact that players are not earning their place in state and national sides. There is the potential that state talent identifiers are over-analysing players. In order to have players enter the system, the young age attributes that need to be considered are basic skills such as strong hand-eye coordination, an understanding of the intricacy of cricket, a notion of how bowling is different to throwing, and how to use both feet when batting, that is, in playing front foot shots and also back foot shots. Talent identification can certainly be simplified. When selecting players for junior representative sides, there needs to be a review of what constitutes a good player. This will come from how the player in question performs in a match environment and not how they look in the nets, for example. Several modern-day batting techniques tend to go against the grain of what is considered a textbook technique. Players that are scoring the most runs, taking the most wickets, and holding on to the most catches must be the first players considered for high-performance programs. Along with the format changes to junior cricket, there are many coaching templates circulating. By following a specific junior coaching regime, players will develop in the same order, and distinguishing the better players will become easier as all players will have had a similar structure to their development. Competitions such as the Futures League need to be given a specific purpose again. The last few years have seen several half-hearted attempts to make it a competition to prepare players for Sheffield Shield cricket and higher honours. It must become a competition that underlines the need to put results on the board for players. There need not be an age restriction placed on the teams. It must be the next best players from each state and territory which should be performing in the Futures League and be putting healthy pressure on the players currently in their Shield teams at the next level. Many players in the modern day face the issue of being considered too old, not fit enough, or just a slogger. And I think if we learnt anything from someone like David Warner, it is that we need to be open-minded to all players in a high-performance environment and utilise those with the highest skill level. The players with the most runs, most wickets and most catches will win cricket games and in turn bring success at the highest possible level. All things considered in this high-performance plan, the state of Cricket Australia isn't too bad in the present day. We have several players who will be considered amongst the best in this generation, and the popularity of the sport is going from strength to strength all the time. By implementing these recommendations as discussed in this presentation, we can take what has been a good patch of cricket over the last 10 years and make it into a great one again. We can be the pinnacle of this sport.